So, pow pow. Hey guys, what's up? This is the BurningNumbers Podcast with myself, Namer, and Josh. We're going to talk about minimalism. Take away, Josh. What do you think?
So minimalism is about the idea of having less materialistic things, and therefore that results in having more time for the valuable things, and the only things you have left is more valuable. So having reasons why you have each individual item would account to something being more valuable, and that would be something that you keep. So minimalism is like a whole cultural movement, if you like, on this idea that we currently we all work, we go to work to then buy things with money we don't really have, which is why we have all the debt, consumer debt, to buy things that we don't really need, to try and impress people that we don't like, right? So everybody's buying all sorts of stuff, and you can kind of see it in the shops, and especially Black Friday. And I personally experienced this kind of through Christmas. Like, we're getting presents all the time that we don't even use. Like, how many times I received 3, I think it was consecutive years in a row, remote control helicopters, right? Now, I love the remote control helicopters, but they're kind of a useless item after you use it once or twice. So I personally like the idea of minimalism in the fact that if you have less things, it kind of forces you also to kind of like socialize or and kind of be with other people. And so I don't like the idea of clutter around everything, like distractions, mental distractions. And it's also like, I don't know if you know, but like all of the presidents, they generally have 1 or 2 colors of suits, and they wear the same color, same type of suit, different clothes, right? But same color, same design, every single day. I don't know if you noticed, but that's what they do. And the point of that is that when they wake up and they go to their walk-in wardrobe, then they have a very small amount of choice that they have to do. They pretty much have no choice. They're just going to put on the same clothes that they wore yesterday, but this is new and therefore clean. And that means you're making one less decision a day. So the more important things, as a president has a lot of important things to do, the more important things is going to be then your mind is going to be taken up completely by the important things rather than the unimportant things. What's your thoughts?
But then it's like, so you say minimalism is like you go and you buy. So it's like, yeah, you value things more, right?
Yeah.
But it's why do we as a society want to build wealth, and that is to buy things, right?
Well,
Like
I think that's where your 2 definitions of like wealth. So you got wealth and then you got rich, right? Rich is like a monetary idea that, oh yeah, I've got lots of money and I can buy lots of things, and that's rich. Well, wealth is like, so people in poor countries, I would define wealth as being like happy and satisfied with your life. Yeah. So there's loads of people around the world that have absolutely nothing. Like if I watched a video recently in Manila, Philippines, they've got like city high rises really close to the slums. And the slums, there's a video on YouTube where there's a guy walking around the slums, and there's rubbish absolutely everywhere. And you see all of these people, these kids, they're kind of sorting through the rubbish, putting it into huge like 2-ton bags of recycled bottles, in which they then go to recycle companies and sell it for a minuscule amount of money. They're literally sleeping on the floor in shitty conditions, barely got water, barely got food. They don't really have internet. They don't have much, right? And every single one of them are happy. And it kind of makes me think, why are these people with almost not even able to have the bare essentials of life, and we are earning averagely about £27,000 a year? We're bloody rich in a monetary sense, but they are wealthy, right? They're happy. We have, as a society, one of the highest suicide rates through like depression in the world. Yet we've got one of the highest at face value incomes and standard of living.
Yeah, but the thing is, like that is again, that's a very nice way of saying like happiness, right? But wealth in itself, like in my head, it's not like, yeah, wealth, yeah, it's good to be happy, but that is its own thing. Rich and wealth are very proportional, they're very together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wealth is having an abundance of possession of money, basically. That's what it is. But in the sense of the happiness aspect is that, yes, in that documentary you saw, they were what they had, they appreciated more, and they were happy with what they had. So
Yeah.
in that sense, that's more of an appreciation aspect rather than the aspect of wealth, you know?
Okay.
Like wealth can be defined as like things not even like how much money you have in your bank account. It's like what you have on you, like your house, your this, like what you're defined as in terms of like in a monetary way is your wealth.
Okay. Yeah.
That,
So the dictionary standard definition of wealth is an abundance of valuable possessions or money, right?
yeah.
Now
Yours is a very like what do you call it? Yours a very interpretive idea of what wealth is.
yeah, fair. Taking the meaning of why you would want to achieve that. So in terms of like minimalism, you wouldn't want to become wealthy and gain invaluable possessions or invaluable money. So minimalism is all about, yes, you want to be wealthy, but wealth is about building up the valuable possessions, which is why I'm talking about the people in like slums in Manila or in the Philippines. They don't have much money as a figure, a number. They do have very, very valuable, but very small amount of the essential things, right? So they might value a pair of flip flops, for example, way more than we do. Now they do have an abundance of valuable possessions by the definition of wealth. To them, they value it. So I think wealth, by definition, is subjective, but only subjective as to how much valuable possessions you have. But we have so much of unvaluable possessions, which is not wealth. That's more classed as like rich. We have so much invaluable possessions that we don't focus or utilize the valuable possessions. So therefore, it's almost like we're not wealthy at all.
Yes and no, because then you could argue on the idea of what is a valuable possession, like it's like, let's say
that's the subjective part. You would value something completely different to other people, but the point is that if you could go around your room right now and say to me that every single thing that I have is valuable and therefore I use it or want it for any particular reason.
But you could argue that easily, which is like everything. Well, personally for me, everything I've bought, I've used at least once or twice, right? So in my head, I've taken its value. But
okay, used once or twice, but how many times have you worn this jumper?
This jumper all the time.
All the time. So you have an immense amount of value out of this jumper, right?
Yes.
Having one single use, you could have borrowed, pick an item that you've used once or twice since you've got it and not used it really at all.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I have a light stick that I got from a concert.
Awesome. Is it possible, and minimalism also, when you're more minimalistic, it helps with this factor too. Is it possible that you can go and borrow that item from somebody else in your community or your family, your friends?
For this one, it's no.
No, but okay, there's always outliers, but the majority of things that we
outliers,
do, yeah,
so, majority of things we can borrow from other people. Yes.
Yeah. So like minimalism also helps in that factor, the fact that these invaluable possessions, we then can, as a community, come together and use it. So, for example, myself, I hate the fact of not having the correct tools when I'm trying to fix my motorcycle or something like that, right? When I want to put together some furniture, I hate not having it. But the times when I don't have the tools to fix my bike or fix something, I need to go to somebody else to get it because you can't always just go to the shops, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had a habit of I would just go to the shops and do it. But the times when I've gone to like my neighbor's house and said, The guy's name's Dave. Look, Dave, is it possible I could borrow this piece of equipment? He's happy to do it and also come help, and then it builds up our relationship a lot more. It's like the fact that I didn't have that materialistic thing, even if it's valuable or not, also allowed for the potential for like community.
But you said minimalism is a movement, right? Like, so this is something that the idea of minimalism is to achieve. The idea of minimalism is trying to achieve is to have have a community of people that are minimalistic, right?
No. Minimalism is about anybody who wants to reduce their lifestyle to more meaningfulness. Then there is almost like a Bible of how you could potentially do this, right? It's just almost like I really want to love my partner more, so I'm going to go read a book about it, or I'm going to go learn from the people who do this, right? So minimalism as a movement, I say movement because more and more people over the years are becoming more minimalistic, and therefore labeling themselves as more minimalists is the word. And so when more and more people do it over time, it's classed as a movement. It has that label, and so that's how I say it. But yeah, it's all about these ideas of having less things and creating more time or reason behind the things that you do have.
Yeah, but like I was just reading this thing, and people were saying that if you like people who like minimalism is a way of living, right?
Yeah.
And like any way of living, you want to find people that have it's nicer to find people that have a similar way of living.
Yeah.
Right. So then minimalism it's hard to find people who are minimalistic. Like,
yeah.
Like I think me and you can both argue that we're both not minimalistic in this sense, or are you?
I would say that minimalism is like you can be very minimalistic and it's like an ideal and you can work towards that, but it's different for everybody. Like you might value
it's a very opinion-based thing.
Exactly, yeah. But obviously you might value a lot of things and you might take a lot of pleasure from things. So for example, some people that I've spoken to, they value and love having a ton of books, right? They love the reading books. They like paper. They like the smell of it. They love to see it on their bookshelf with loads of them all lined up. They love that. So don't get rid of that. You have immense value from that, right? I've met somebody when talking to them, they love and have a huge collection of different Monopoly games. And I talk about this in the book that I'm making now, that I'm writing. And she has so much value from these Monopoly games because every single time they play Monopoly, the whole family's together for like 4 to 6 hours long, right? And so that is huge value. So you wouldn't go get rid of all your Monopoly games because they have huge value. But if you then have like 10 chess games that you never play, what are these 10 chess games doing? Right? They're just taking up space, which is another thing that minimalism's kind of, like a subcategory in a movement called tiny houses movement, right? And it's this idea that, so there's a study done in America. Now, America, they do have bigger houses and bigger area, but the principle is still the same in a Western civilization culture. And they did like a heat sensor map of a family of 4 in an average sized house. And they checked where they went throughout the week in the house, right? Now, they used the majority of the time, 40% of the house, and then the 60% left is almost never used, right? So they all went around the living room where the TV is. They all used the toilet. They all used their individual bedrooms, but then they left the bedrooms and they didn't go into it for the rest of the time, right? And like these sort of things. So you see everybody's buying bigger and bigger houses. And then when you buy a bigger house, you need to fill it with things, right? So then you go out and buy all these useless things. Like in my book, I talk about something like, okay, I'll buy a house. And then once I've bought a house, I need to have a mat to go inside, right? Because you got to wipe your feet off. And then I need curtains. And then I need a new set of cutlery, a new set of plates, a new set of this and this and this and this. And then it just builds up and up and up. And then you buy things and then your living room's full of things that you like or you think is interesting, and then all of a sudden your dining room it feels empty. So then we feel like we need to now fill it. So then we go buy a table, and then a second table, and then chairs, and then this and that and that. So that monetarily, we're wasting our time, which we go to work for the money. Sorry, we exchange time for money as a job, and then we go out and buy these things that were 60% of the house we don't even use anyway. And so there's huge, especially after the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, there's a lot of people that didn't want a mortgage because they don't trust it, right? So because house prices are so expensive, they decided to reduce the house so they pay less so they can buy it in cash or have a very small mortgage, right? And so there's this movement called tiny house movement, and these people are buying like trailer-sized or shed-sized houses in which they live in, and more people are trying to be more like fully sustainable with that. But there's I think there's huge benefits to that, like having less of it.
Yeah, because it's like you have less of things, but then the one main issue that I have for like all of that, which is right. What is the motivation for when you do anything in life, right? Like Justin, what's your motivation when you do anything in life?
What do you mean? It depends on what I'm doing, isn't it?
It's like so you're building a business, you're writing a book, we're doing this podcast right now. What is your motivation? What do you have behind you when you're trying to do these things?
I think what you're trying to get at, and I also mentioned in the book. So, well, there's a few things that people value based on their life, and I've actually wrote it on my wall up there. So I wrote it as like 6 human needs, and Tony or Anthony Robbins is where I first got it from, right? So you got everybody needs uncertainty in their life. Everybody wants to surprise and enjoyment, and they want to be uncertain about things, so it's exciting, right? But everybody also needs certainty in their life. If you don't have certainty, then you don't know you're going to be going crazy, and people do go crazy when they don't know if they're going to have their job the next day, right? This is why a lot of people don't like entrepreneurship, because they're not sure if they're going to be able to get money tomorrow, whereas a job seems to be more secure. Certainty. Then you got significance. Nobody wants to have their partner to have another partner, right? Because you need to be, as an individual, significant to that other person. You want to be significant in your society. You want to move up and do things. You want to be the leader, things like this, right? Or significant to your friends. You might feel jealousy, right? Connection and love. We all need to feel loved. Without love, then love and intimate relationships is kind of where the most juice in life comes from, right? Growth, and the last one is contribution. So growth is happiness, is like progression in life. So in my book, I talk about happiness is when you have this idea of how your life should be. And again, I got this from Tony Robbins as the initial idea and did my own research on it. But you have this idea, a vision of what your life should be, right? And your life is here. So when you are progressing towards it, or you achieve it, you feel immense happiness, excitement about life. You just generally feel more fulfilled, right? And so there's 2 things that can go wrong here. You can either your life conditions mean that you can no longer work towards your vision of how your life should look like, or you get to it and you realize it's not actually what you wanted, right? And we have this issue a lot. So you can always work towards your vision, and then you can change your vision, and we all have different visions. And if you think about it, like who do you like? List 2 people. Tell me 2 people that you like.
Oh, like in what sense?
You just like them as human beings.
Say my best friend, and say you.
Oh, wonderful. So as human beings, we like people who are like ourselves or like how we want to be, right? And so these 2 people are pretty much, we are like each other, and you and your best friends also like each other. You may have also said that one person that I like is Brian Cox. You might like Brian Cox. You like Brian Cox?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because he's like somebody who you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So now think of somebody you don't like, and then the reasons behind that will always be something like, oh, I don't like this person because he does that and I disagree with that. And the point is that you don't want to be like that person.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So when you are envisioning your life, a lot of people like have visions of, oh, I should grow up. And also this is dependent on like culture, where you are, what age and things like this, and how you're brought up. But your vision, like, for example, I want to grow up and be married and have kids and have my kids love me, right? This vision, and I can work towards that. However, if my circumstances, for example, my sperm is not highly fertilization, it doesn't fertilize eggs properly, and so my infertility means that I can't achieve my vision. I'm going to get depressed. Okay, so I go take antidepressants, but antidepressants does hormonal issues, and my depression is based on my mental issues, right? I envision a life that I should be living, and I can't achieve it, and therefore I'm not happy about my life, and so I'm depressed. And this is why a large majority of the time antidepressants don't work. Yeah, because they're changing your hormonal, and the reason why you're depressed is mental. So the thing that you need to do in that situation is, because I can't, because I can't have children and create this vision, I need to change my vision. So if I change my vision, or even find a different way to do that vision. So if I envision a life where these children are my own children, my biological children, I could change the vision to these children are just my children that I've brought up, and I can now adopt children. And therefore I'm going to be happy and feel fulfilled because I'm achieving my vision. And so I'm trying to link this now back into minimalism.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm waiting for.
I know,
to see
you're waiting for that
you're linking this back.
Minimalism, if you think about those human needs, nothing really there actually applies to if I go out and buy this and this and this and this. Okay, if you think about the only thing in that sense for the human need is significance, because we live in a culture where Facebook and Instagram is sucking so much of our time. We always see in all these like the rappers wearing necklaces and bling. We always see actors with fast cars and stuff like this. So the act of going out and obsessing over materialistic things, we're not achieving the other 6 basic needs as a human being. And so we're not going to actually find fulfillment in life because we're going out and spending this stuff. And then don't forget all the stuff that we're buying and then we're filling our houses with all takes money. And there's like 30% of the UK are in jobs that they don't actually enjoy. They don't find fulfillment from their job. And so 30% of the UK or more is doing a job that they don't like, and then they're going to buy things that they don't need or care about what's this cycle about, how does that make sense?
So I agree that like people are going out and buying things they don't need, but it is the idea which is that's not necessarily in my head minimalism. Like not buying things you don't need. Like that is like, it's like, what's it called? I've bought headphones. I bought gaming headsets, right? I bought a gaming headset. In my head, that is something that I need. But a lot of people, that's something that I want. But the idea of minimalism is spending the least amount of money possible to achieve a certain thing.
No. So,
and then valuing that thing more. No,
minimalism. I would say to you, minimalism. I would say that the fact that you bought these headphones and you bought it for the purpose. What is the reason why you bought the headphones?
To game.
To game, and are you going to game?
Yes.
So that is taking up an amount of your life that you think provides value to you, and you take enjoyment from it, right?
Okay. Yes.
So you don't need the gaming headphones to actually survive, but for your own personal enjoyment, it provides value to you. You actually use it. However, that picture at the back of your wall, I can see, that's probably not as. I mean, you might like the picture, and therefore you look at it, and it gives you inspiration or admiration to the painter or the artist. things like this. But if it doesn't do anything and it's just a picture there, what's the point in having the picture?
Because the picture, like in that sense, I could say so. I'm gonna, because at the moment that's a picture that I didn't actually buy. It's my sister's painting. But let's imagine it was a picture that I did buy.
Yeah.
It was something that I felt myself that I connected with personally.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I connected with something personally, I would put it up on my wall, because it would give me a reminder of what I can do. Like if it gave me inspiration to do something better.
Yeah.
I think in my head that is something that I need, because it gives me inspiration. It gives me motivation. I look at it and I'm like, maybe I'm not having a great day, and I look at that painting, I'm like, maybe I can go and do something for the rest of the day.
Yeah. So that painting is creating value towards you, right? So there's no reason why I think that you should be getting rid of that in a minimalistic sense. Now, minimalism is not about getting rid of everything. It's just about getting rid of the things that's not providing value to you on a consistent basis. Like, so for example, my girlfriend, she's got a ridiculous amount of coats. Like, she's got a coat for every possible outfit, for every possible occasion you could go out in, right? And so we've got a full rack of coats, and then she's also got coats that I've put into vacuum packed bags to then store away, depending if it's summer or winter or autumn, or it's a bright yellow one or whatever, right? That gets dramatic, and she hasn't used some of these coats for the last 2.5 years. What's the point of having these coats? They're just taking up space or anything like that. You don't need the coats. You can get rid of the coats, right? Your painting provides value on a consistent basis. Her coats do not provide value. She should get rid of the coats, and you should keep the painting.
Okay, so I think we have two different ideas of minimalism, because your minimalism is a very opinionated.
But that's what it is. It's about minimizing your lifestyle down to the things you value that creates, and the fact that you got, let's say for example, this is your life is this, right? And this is what's value.
But Josh, what is your what is, so you're talking about like, it gives you more value, but what is the pros? Like, tell me like a pro in terms of like lifestyle of a pro of being minimalistic. Like, you're saying you value these things more than you do like, you value the things you have more, which is great.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have less things and you value them more. And your total value, like, what about if I have like loads of little things and I value them slightly less? Let's say the total value I have for things that I own to a thing minimalists own is the same. What is the pro in terms of lifestyle for a minimalist?
Let's talk about, it will lead to what you just said, but let's talk about how many people, you understand what the rat race is, yeah? This endless cycle of trying to achieve a financial security or significance, and you're never going to achieve it because money, you can never have enough of it, right?
Okay.
We always increase our lifestyle to and keep spending everything we earn, right? So there's a documentary on minimalism by two guys, forgot their names, wonderful guys, and they both went into jobs and they was earning like 30-40k, and then they thought that their life is going to be so much better once they earn 50k, right? And so they soon after they earned £50,000, and then they realized that actually I don't feel fulfilled, what am I doing? So then they might think, okay, I need to adjust for inflation, because I thought about that 10 years ago, and this and that and that. And so they go and earn £70,000, and then they realize that they're still broke, they're still in credit card debt, they're still in this debt, they're still financing cars, they're still doing this, and they're working more hours to try and do this, and they're not actually spending time with their kids, so their wife, their friends. They're not going to do racing if they enjoy racing. They're not going to do this and that. So because they thought that the idea of if you earn loads of money, and the reason why you earn loads of money is to buy loads of things, if they earn loads of money, then their life is going to be so much better, right? So they're spending all this time to buy things that they don't need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so the things that you value in life is not just like, you value gaming partly for your own personal enjoyment of playing the game, and then also for the social aspect. No doubt that you probably play online, and even if you didn't,
I only play if I'm playing with other people. So yeah,
exactly. And a lot of people who don't, and they just play like RPG, story mode, things like that, they're just enjoying the story, right? It's like reading the book, but they're playing it. But that's creating value again. So the point that I'm trying to say is that you don't need to get rid of the things. It's about not forcing yourself through the endless cycle of like work and then trying to buy things that you don't want, and then really focusing on the things that you enjoy, like family, friends, relationships, going out and doing a sport that you enjoy and going out for a run. Yeah, so it is individual in a sense of, okay, it depends on what you value and depends on what I value. But either way, I bet you, unless we both really like driving supercars, get really trying to pursue and spending my life trying to pursue a higher paying job in something that I probably don't enjoy to be able to buy the supercar, then chances are that we don't actually need to spend all our life working. And we don't need to keep buying all this stuff, and we can spend more time doing the things we enjoy.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. But it's I'm just like I would argue that I don't think anyone gets anything that they don't see value in, you know?
I disagree with that. Like, there's so many things like I've seen that my family and like I've seen friends buy it, and I think they just haven't used it really at all. I'm sure you can think of at least one thing, a few things, probably more than a few things, of items in your household that actually was bought as in really used or gained pleasure from.
No, this is what I'm trying to say, which is you just call that a bad decision, because I think whenever someone buys something, they buy it with the idea that they're going to get value out of it. Would you not agree?
Agreed.
So I think when you have things in your household that aren't very useful or like you don't seem to gain pleasure out of, I wouldn't call that not being minimalistic. I'd call that a bad decision, because I think they went with the right intention. Like I'm gonna buy this thing. I'm gonna use my own hard-earned money to buy this thing, and I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna gain value out of it. I'm gonna like completely destroy this thing. But it was a bad decision, and after a while they realized that it doesn't give them pleasure. So I'd call it a bad decision more than an unnecessary buy.
Yeah, so then you need to think about like, why do you do these bad decisions? Now the people that call them the minimalists, I just researched that, is Joshua Fields Millsburn and Ryan Nicodemus. I think I pronounced that correctly. They talk about in their book about that they realize that this endless cycle isn't making them happy and they're going to become minimalists, right? And so they wrapped up almost like Christmas wrapping paper everything that they own, yeah? And then they do, a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to get rid of stuff. So they did the opposite. They said, I'm going to start using stuff that I own, right? And so everything that they used within, I think it was like a 3-month period, they obviously had to unwrap to be able to use it. They wrapped up their furniture, their bed, their city, their toothbrush, everything, right? If they didn't use it within a 3-month period, it was gone. And so you still had all these things that was wrapped up that they didn't use and have value from because they haven't used it within a 3-month period. And so once you've almost converted into this minimalistic lifestyle, and you will 99% of the time see a change in your happiness, whatever, your fulfillment, because you're spending more time with the people you enjoy, you're spending more time doing the things you want to do. You're going to be less focused on wanting to go out and buy the things that we don't actually have value for. You're not going to be making those mistakes and buying these purchases. And a lot of the time, these purchases is like filling a void that we have. So like you will see lots of people, and this is going to hurt some viewers if they're actually watching it. A lot of people go out because they don't feel fulfilled, and they go shopping to try and fill that void. So they go and buy this thing, and then they're going to walk around and be like, oh, look what I bought. And they put it on the side and they don't touch it. Okay, so the act of buying it might be for the purpose of showing other people to try and gain social status, to gain whatever, or post it on their Instagram photo, Instagram page. But once you've changed into like a minimalistic lifestyle, you don't think about going out and buy these things as much. I'm not entirely sure the reasons why, like biologically, but you just don't end up doing that.
I want to give you my situation that I went through this summer during lockdown. I want to see how you describe it.
Yeah.
Okay. So recently I completely renovated my room.
Yeah.
I painted it. I got new furniture. I got new things.
That's good.
But then I went down and went to like where I have all my stuff underneath my bed. And I literally said, have I used in the last year or the last 6 months? And if it was a no, I threw it away.
Slightly minimalistic, yeah.
So how would you describe that?
I would say that's being minimalistic or that was an act of minimalism, right? I mean, I don't know what you've done since then. How long ago was that?
Mm-hmm. This was let's say 4 months ago, and I would say I haven't bought anything anything significant in the last 4 months.
Yeah. So here's kind of like a pointer. Let me just get up the statistics.
I want to know where you place that on like the minimalism scale, because people could argue that it is minimalistic, but people could argue like I'm just clearing out unnecessary stuff in my room.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the definition of minimalism there. Unnecessary stuff, clutter, shit, crap, whatever you want to call it, So I'm just going to read you straight from Google here, yeah? The UK accounts for approximately 41% of European self-storage market. So that's places when we've filled up our houses that are extra large and we have so much stuff that we then go and put it into like a garage or a self-storage facility because we have too much of it, right? So people are buying and renting out self-storage facility. So most of the storage per person in any country in Europe, so we have 41% of it in the UK. This is how much UK people are doing this. So we estimate there are now approximately 1,900 self-storage sites in the UK, offering around 49 million square foot of space with an average size of 25,700 square foot per unit. So these people are buying so much stuff. So imagine that you didn't get rid of the stuff and then now you go and buy more stuff that you don't use, and you don't use it, and that's why you put it into a self-storage facility. And so you just leave it there. And then you keep paying for that self-storage facility, and then you go work a job that you don't like to go and pay for the self-storage facilities for the items that you don't use. So yeah, you are partially probably being minimalistic. Maybe more or less so, depending on how extensively we're going to talk about your own personal situation. But what you've just described is you're being minimalistic.
Then I would just say that in my head, minimalism is just a good, like if you're in my head, I just say minimalism. Like if we're using it in that sense, it's just being smart with what you're doing and what you're buying.
Yeah. Like exactly. That a lot of people are not doing, which is why there's like a movement, which is why there's a whole category of a lifestyle. It's because it goes against the norm.
Because when I see because I've looked at minimalistic lifestyles on like YouTube or such, right?
Yeah.
And these people what they advertise this lifestyle, which is like I don't even need a TV. Like I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And I think that proposes a rather extreme way of being minimalistic. Because and then that gets people, and that creates this sense of competition between other people who are trying to adopt the minimalistic lifestyle. And if you carry on, and then this just starts building the blocks and blocks and blocks, and then you see people like having this extreme sense of minimalistic lifestyle, which in my head could completely go the other way of what it's actually trying to achieve.
Yeah.
No,
there is some issues with minimalism. Also on the fact that where you're trying to get rid of a number of items, it means that you now have an increase in your disposable income, for example. And therefore, because you have less items and you've committed to this idea of less items, you now buy more expensive items when you buy it, right? So the things that you do value, let's say you value some earrings, you really like earrings, you change your earrings, instead of buying £20 earrings, you now buy £100 earrings, right? Because they're great value. So yeah, this idea of like consumerism as well, there's some issues around that in terms of minimalism. But the most extreme situation that I see is like extreme Buddhism. I don't know what you know about Buddhism. I know probably very little in the grand scheme of things, but from my understanding, Buddhism is about not life isn't about obtaining materialistic things, and it's about controlling your mind. Once you control your mind and you're content with life as a human being and just living, then that's the only point in which you gain full fulfillment. And so that's why they do it as meditation and things like that, because you're just you, yourself, and I, or you yourself and you. That doesn't work in first and third person.
Go on.
Yeah, just because you're within yourself and all you're doing is concentrate on yourself, and you don't care about what's happening on Facebook, you don't care about how much a football player spent on their meal last night, right? When you don't care about that and all you care about is how you're breathing, there's a real sense of fulfillment and almost like spirituality inside you. I don't know if you've done any meditation yourself, but this kind of like links back into the point of that is quite extreme in a sense, but they also talk a lot about when you have full control of your mind because you don't care about other stuff and like materialistic stuff, then you can do a lot more within yourself, which is why you get all these Buddhist monks that train and dedicate their body because they care about themselves, and they could do extraordinary things and get kicked in the nuts or something and don't feel pain. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of going more into it.
I want to talk about when you talk about consumerism, which is that because they have more disposable income, they tend to spend more on the things they value.
Yeah.
Like in my head, like it depends on what you're getting. So let's say you're talking about the earrings, for example.
Yeah.
That you had people used to buy £20 earrings, and now that they've adopted this minimalistic lifestyle, they have more disposable income, they can spend more on earrings and buy better more expensive earrings.
Yeah.
I would argue that if you like value certain things and you've understood what you value the most, is it bad to go and buy the best one you can buy? Which is like, let's say you have, like for me, let's say like this hoodie that I have right now.
Yeah.
It's a fairly cheap hoodie, but if I realize that I value like hoodies like this a lot, I would go out and probably buy the most quality hoodie that I could.
Yeah, and that is something like as I and yourself have just described, like almost like a spiral effect of doing the opposite of what minimalism is. And so like a big part of minimalism is about getting away from this idea of the rat race, and having to go to work to buy the things that you don't like. Now, if you then convert all of your money into doing that things, it's about what you then value most in your life. So if you value your earrings more than the time that you can spend with your children or your friends, then yeah, by all means, go and buy more expensive earrings rather than the £20, you're buying £100. It's completely fine. But if you now go get rid of everything in your house that doesn't provide value to you, so you're being minimalistic in what you already have, and all the benefits that come with that in terms of your mental health and physical health and so forth, and then you also commit to not buying useless stuff in the future, then you no longer need to have the same income that you already have. And so if you then reduce your income not by changing job and therefore reducing the amount of money you earn per hour, but reducing the amount of hours that you work, then, or taking more holidays, for example, then you create more time to be able to do the things that are more valuable. You can't always, like the term, you can't buy happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up to a certain point, You can. I mean, if you don't have food and water, you can buy food and water and you're going to be happy, right? But you're not going to be able to buy time with your mom or dad or your brother, sister, daughter, son. So
That's
yeah, it depends on what you
true.
value. So if you value your jumpers more than you value your time with your on your game, then go buy better jumpers. If you value your time gaming more than your jumpers, reduce the amount of work you're doing because you're no longer buying jumpers or whatever else that you've got rid of, then you can go game more, right?
But the thing is, it's like, yeah, I'm still on the idea, which is like these yes, in the sense that we want to build more time with people that with the things that we value, things that we love, which is like, for example, family, things like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons I think people take away like things they don't need, and they don't buy things they don't need, is to be able to buy better quality of things they do want or things they do value.
Yeah.
Because as much as minimalism is a lifestyle change, it's also a monetary change. That you don't spend money on the things that you don't care about or the things that you don't value. You spend money on the things that you do value. So, which is like on the side of like earrings. If you appreciate earrings and the way they're made, like the best way I can think of it is probably not in the earring sense. It's probably like, let's say, watches, because watches can get to extortionate prices, right? As you know.
Yeah.
But then some watches are like, if you appreciate a way a watch is made, as rather than seeing it as a symbol piece, would you argue that you value that watch? Like, would you say you value the watch?
I think we're going into like, what do you define as valuable? And so
Yes.
that comes into like personally actually thinking about what you find valuable, what gives you fulfillment. So for example, I value time with my girlfriend more than I value riding a motorcycle, right? I love motorcycles, but I value time with my girlfriend more. And so if I have the option to do the two things, be with my girlfriend and ride a motorcycle, although I love doing both the same, I love doing both a lot, I would always choose being with my girlfriend over riding my motorcycle. And so you need to kind of decide like what's more important for you personally, in which case what you can then get rid of. Now you can you might think that you really like your watch, but if you could spend that money on a holiday every year, then is that not better? It's like being mindful of what is the opportunity cost of your money as well.
So then it just, and okay, in that sense, then yeah, fine. Which is like, yeah, fair enough. You go for the thing you value the most.
Yeah.
So like,
let me tell you a story. That kind of links into this. So obviously, I'm a finance guy. Yeah, we'll cut it off straight after the story.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a finance guy, so I know and read a lot and understand and actually do a lot about investing, long-term investing, right? And so I understand how the compound interest works and how you can build up wealth over time. And so the opportunity cost for me buying expensive products when there is a cheaper alternative that is sufficient for the use and purpose of it, then is the opportunity cost is substantial. Like if you look at the compounding, just so for example, recently I had a pair of black boots that cost I think £60 for work, and I then had to go to the post office at work, and then it was raining, and so when my shoes had holes in it, my feet got wet. I've got money, so I went and bought new shoes afterwards, and then on the way to the shops, I needed to decide what shop I'm going to go into, which would then determine what price my shoes would be, right? If I go into Superdry, it's going to be more expensive than going to Primark. So that decision-making process is the point of kind of minimalism in a sense here. The fact that I don't need or care about the brand of shoes because you're kind of paying for the brand. And so I end up buying, instead of £60 boots, which I previously wore, I bought £13 boots, right? Which is a £47 difference.
Okay.
So let's say across the year I did that twice a year, then £47, 80, 90, £94 a year, yeah? So £94 a year if you invested at 10% interest, then over the course of 45 years, that £94 a year is looking at about £75,000. So to me, £75,000, when you're only putting in like a ridiculously small amount, £75,000 is much better than this idea of wearing a brand on my feet, right? So for me, because I valued my future finances and my life in the future more than I value the boots, the brand of boots that I wear, then I chose the more minimalistic side of it, right? And so that's like I think is a good example of what do you value most. I know that in the future with the money I can go and feed people, I can potentially do extraordinary stuff with the money, and therefore and create value to my life and other people's lives. And so I chose not to buy branded boots to try and impress people that I don't really care about, you know.
I would go on the other side on this one, which is okay. Let's say you have you were taking the example boots here, right?
Yeah.
And you have these Primark boots, which are like £13.
Yep.
And then you have these, let's say, any sort of random branded boots that are
Yep.
like £60.
Yep.
The one thing that is common, which is quality, is proportional to price. Would you agree?
No, because you got the added factor of a brand.
In let's say this way, I went to Shoe, like Shoe is SCHUH, and
Yeah.
I've bought like let's say I bought a pair of boots for like £80.
Yeah.
There is no branding on it because it's Shoe. They don't do branding really on their shoes.
Oh, the fact that you said shoe means it's a brand and therefore you buy it, or you know.
No,
So branding first came about back in I think the 1800s when they used to ship things like products like biscuits or drinks and things like this to small communities, towns. They didn't have huge city and manufacturers like we do now before the Industrial Revolution. And so you needed to know consistently the quality of the product that you buy, right? And so if you go to the shops and you pick up a biscuit, you want to know what this biscuit is made out of and things like this. And so if you know that the brand of biscuit is a certain brand, then or let's say Coca-Cola, you buy a drink, then you know that every single time you go pick up this black drink that's got bubbles in it that has a sign saying Coca-Cola on it, you know it's the exact same quality as it was last time you bought it, right? And that's the purpose of a brand, is repeated purchase for the same quality. And so, yeah, I kind of agree that the quality may increase, but brands isn't all about quality. Brands is about, look at Harley Davidson. That's not necessarily about quality. Their motorcycles break down all the time. That is about lifestyle and about the idea and the vision, the reason why they live like they live. And that's what people buy into. People like Harley Davidson and they get tattoos of the sign Harley Davidson, live to ride, ride to live. They get motorcycle jackets and put patches on it, right? They don't buy into the brand because of the quality of the products that they do. They buy into the brand because of the reason why they exist. People buy into the brand of Coca-Cola because they like it.
These are your we're talking about a different, like there's different sections. Like you have like for clothing, let's say your brands are like your Supremes or like your Canada Gooses or like things like that. Where if we speak on the idea of clothes, like if you buy a shirt from Primark and you buy a shirt from Zara, like plain white t-shirt,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
you don't, if I hold them up to you, you don't know where those come from, right? Because they have nothing on them. It doesn't say Primark like all over it. It doesn't say Zara all over it. It's just two white t-shirts.
Yes.
And in that sense, but the Zara one's going to be more pricey. But what is the reason that it's more pricey?
So if you go find, and this will be 100% true, if you go find the same top in Primark as you do the same material, what it's made out of, 100% cotton top in Primark, and then you go looking, for example, Zara or Superdry, and I've actually personally done this, and go look at the same top in that place, then it's going to be the exact same top. The only difference is there's two differences: the price and the label that's on it. So Primark will probably not have anything because they don't put label on there. Superdry will have Superdry written on it.
Superdry on it.
Yeah, and it's usually knitted into it, not like anything else, right? Zara, I don't know what they do. I don't shop there, but they probably, and even if they don't and they have a blank thing, the label that's on here will say Zara, 100%.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And that's to identify, obviously, it comes from the shop Zara. So you're still buying the brand. The fact that you walk into the shop means you're buying the brand. You're buying the reason why they exist. You're not paying for the quality of the top, but they all come from sweatshops in India, sweatshops in all different sorts of places around the world. They're not made here, you know? And so the point is that the quality of it isn't dictated by the brand, isn't dictated by the price. The price is dictated by usually the brand. And so you can get the same quality of stuff at a cheaper price.
I would argue for clothing that if you have clothes like I'd say there's 3 levels of clothing. You have like normal like as we said, Primark. I'm gonna say 3 brands, and they're 3 different quality. You have Primark, Zara, and you have Asket.
Okay.
They all sell, and they advertise. Their advertisement is when they sell things without a label on it.
Yeah.
So you don't ever see you never see Primark on a Primark shirt. You never see Zara on a Zara shirt. You never see Asket on an Asket shirt. But the difference between each shirt is the durability, the how many washes it can go through, things like that. And in these cases, the price does dictate the quality. So in Asket, I don't really buy things from Asket because it's out of my price budget. But you can buy like a white t-shirt in different thicknesses because that's how it goes. In Zara, you can buy shirts in different fits, different like all that kind of stuff, like
designs,
different materials.
Yeah.
In Primark, you have base designs, you have your base materials.
So I know that Primark isn't necessarily like a brand in a sense. It is a brand. It's a company with.
It's a brand, but
it sells other brands in the shop.
Yes.
Like George sells in Tesco's, right?
Yeah. So I would argue that in this sense that you have 3, you're not paying for the brand in this sense, but you're paying for the quality. If you go to shops like let's say Canada Goose.
If you was paying
Adidas,
for the quality,
Nike.
How much should they buy it for?
Huh?
How much should they buy it for?
What do you mean, how much did they buy it for?
So let's say Zara buys it from a sweatshop in India. How much did Zara pay for one t-shirt? Roughly.
Oh, minimal price, like a minimal price.
Go on, give me a random number. Just put
like
it out.
I'm going to say like 5p, 6p.
5p, 6p. I think that's a bit under, but I think it's more like £1 per top of like a really good quality top, right? Well, it depends on bulk actually, but yeah. Whatever the number is, if it was dictated by quality and not by brand and profits based on the brand, then you're most likely to be buying much closer to the price in which it's purchased for. So the fact that they're able to make a margin because of the brand in which they sell it from.
I still wouldn't say that it takes the quality though.
I also have another idea that, so no matter what you wear, within reason, obviously if you just get into a tank, then it's going to be a bit different to a £1,000 car, right? But no matter what you wear, kind of what you do to it makes a big difference. So if you're always, let's say you play rugby, the quality of top isn't much different. If you're going to be trod over dramatically on your clothing, you're still going to get a hole in it. You're still going to get dirty, stained, whatever, you know? And so it also depends on like what you do and like how you take care of that stuff. So does it really matter? Like in terms of the quality of like the shoes that you buy? I'd rather buy a more quality thing because on the idea that it lasts longer, but it depends what you're doing. Like I know that when I used to work at McDonald's a few years ago,
Oh, it definitely depends
even
on
the
what you're doing,
quality
though.
of the shoes, the quality shoes made for McDonald's would still be gone within 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Now they are better than shoes that not made for McDonald's and not made for that, and therefore they are gone within whatever. But they wasn't expensive. Like the shoes that they were called shoes for crews, but they weren't expensive. They was made and designed to last. But if they stuck a brand Nike tick on that pair of shoes, that's going to be way more expensive.
Yeah, but that's why I'm arguing where some brands you do pay for the brand, but some places you don't pay for the brand. So Nike, Adidas, those places you pay for the brand. Supreme, kind of do is like I can go on a list. My list goes for hundreds of brands,
Yeah.
right? But like then you have brands where you will pay more on the sense of you are paying for the quality.
Yeah, I think there's a slight inflation of quality comes with Zara. It's still branded, but yeah, definitely you pay for Nike more than you pay for Zara in terms of the brand idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think minimalism as a whole is like a good concept that I think everybody should kind of get a little bit of. Some people more or less minimalistic, like you've said, or Buddhist monks that are very minimalistic. They have almost nothing because they care more about their mental state and things like that. But yeah, focus on the things in life that you value. And that's
I agree.
That's the Burning Numbers
think...
podcast. We'll catch up with you in the next one. Sorry, you can say what you think in the next one.